Hello and welcome to a new replay commentary. Today we're going to talk about Tyrande on Towers of Doom. She is now currently the best support in terms of win rate, even after her nerfs she recently received, and that's because she had a rework a couple of weeks ago where she was made into a pure support. Before she was like something, well, into a pure healer I should say. Before she was like something of a hybrid, doing damage but also were able to heal a little bit. But she wasn't one or the other. Like, you couldn't play her as a full assassin, she didn't do enough damage, and then she wasn't a full healer. You would normally always need to play her with like a second support or something that did the same job that she did. Basically, like, you would see Tyrande Medivh or something like this, but it was very rare and didn't work a lot. I'm gonna go over her spells real quick, just to give you an example of, well, not example, but like to show you what exactly changed, and give you some examples on how you use these spells now in comparison to her past self. So her Q is Light of Elune. It's in heal. It has actually quite big heal numbers, 276 healing, and you have 2 charges of it, so you can heal for more than 500 health in a very short amount of time. It only has like a very small global cooldown in between the heals, and it recharges 15 seconds. And after that, you have 2 heals back, so you always get 2 charges back. And as you can see from the description, it also reduces the cooldown for 15 seconds if you hit an enemy with any sort of attack. So any damage that you do to an enemy, the cooldown is reduced by 1.5 seconds. That means you can auto attack, you can ult somebody, or you can hit it with a Lunar Flare or with Starfall. All of that is actually doing damage and then reduces her charge on that. So Starfall could be seen as a healing heroic actually if you hit a couple of targets, because it basically increases your output. And I'm sorry if you hear the ambulance in the background. Something is driving around here. Anyway, so this is her new Q. Before, it only healed one target, like, or you can only have 1 charge, so you can only hit 1 target. Way back when, she would always heal herself when using her Q. So that was changed when she was more pushed into the hybrid situation. And now it's just like 2 charges and it's a big heal with very little mana cost. 50 mana is not a lot. 30 mana for 2 casts, not a lot of mana. And then again, the cooldown gets reduced when you attack something. So Sentinel gets the second biggest upgrade, I think, or update. It now doesn't have any quests. Like, there's no baseline quests anymore. There's also no quests for further stacking. So it's literally now only a tool for scouting and revealing enemies, basically. It has 15 seconds cooldowns. Mana cost is 50, so it's quite expensive compared to the Light of Elune. And this is going to be your primary ability to scout enemies, like to see where they are and what they do. And if you hit, for example, a stealth enemy, they get revealed. And for example, if somebody goes in a bush as well, they get revealed for that time, for 5 seconds, meaning that they can't hide from you. So this is not getting any more damage. There's a couple of talents we're going to talk about, but not too much into detail. But basically, this is not as spammy anymore. You don't spam Sentinel to get stacks. You don't use it to finish any quests or anything like this. This also means that you can have this and save this in team fights to do more damage, meaning you will get more reduction of Light of Elune. So it's not needed anymore that you spam it out whenever you want, but you should probably use it when Light of Elune is on cooldown, so that you get a cooldown reduction. Lunar Flare has, I don't think, gained a lot of changes. It's basically still the stun that it was before. You shoot it after 0.75 seconds. You stun the enemy for 0.75. It's an AoE target damage and stun, meaning that you can hit multiple targets with this spell. And then Trade Hunter's Mark, I think that wasn't changed at all. You basically reduce non-structured enemies' armor by 15, meaning they get 15% more damage from all sources. As it says, non-structured, meaning that you can't use it on buildings, but you can use it on any mercenaries, you can use it on minions, you can use it on bosses, you can use it on any objectives like the Immortal or the Punishers or whatever. So you can use it on everything but buildings, because 15% reduced armor on buildings is very, very strong on a 20-second cooldown, so they don't want you to use it this way. Okay. Before we start, I want to go through the level 1 talent a little bit more because it's, I think, the most important talent here for her. But it also is something where you have to make a big decision for you when you start the game. So we have Moonlit Arrows. That means that the basic attacks decrease the cooldown of Light of Loon by an additional 0.75 seconds. So we have already the 1.5 seconds plus 0.75, meaning that every time you auto-attack something, well, auto-attack an enemy hero. No, actually, it's all here, all enemies. Yeah, okay, sorry. So it's all enemies. I thought it was a hero, actually. But basically, whenever you auto-attack something, you, instead of 1.5 seconds, you take 2.25 seconds off the Light of Loon, which is really good because you then basically only have to hit like 5 auto attacks and are nearly at the cooldown already. So this is really, really strong, but it also requires you to have something to auto attack on. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. This is really good if you have a strong frontline, like here in Murden Artanis, that you have 2 targets that I can hit a lot. So Moonlit Arrows could have been a valid choice. But you really need to benefit from this. So if you personally know that you don't auto-attack a lot, or if you have a very squishy lineup, and all of you are always running, this is not a very good talent because you're not getting a lot of auto-attacks in, therefore you don't benefit from your level 1 talent. Celestial Attunement is probably the one that is most discussed because people overestimate it a little bit, I think, how strong it is. So basically, it's a mini cleanse. It removes stun, silences, and slows from its target when you heal with Light of Loon. Well, you actually don't have to heal, but when you use Light of Loon on somebody. On paper, this sounds really, really good because you can, stop combos and everything. And that's exactly what it is for. Like in this case, for example, I didn't take it because they only have Murden, who has a stun baked in his kit with Stormbolt. And I know that the chances there to see Vala use Rain of Vengeance, but I feel like nothing else really does CC on their side. And so if I cleanse the Son of Murden, for example, but there's a lot of follow-up, then the target will die anyway, even if I remove the stun. And then it also doesn't remove roots, meaning that the level 13 from Wipe Main I can't cleanse, and then it also doesn't give you Unstoppable, meaning that you can prevent the swap from Artanis. And again, Sasada is actually pretty weak because his Distortion Beam, his auto attack, basically slows as soon as it does damage. So you can cleanse the slow off, but in the next second or whatever, how long it takes to tick again, the slow is applied again. So it actually wastes the attunement completely. That's why I didn't go for it. And then the Color Resistance, I think, is the strongest talent here in most cases, because it gives the target 15 spell armor for 3 seconds, and it stacks up to 2 times. So you can give a target up to 15 spell armor, meaning they take 30% less damage from spells. And that's something that I think is I don't want to say underrated, but people don't understand how strong it is. So you have a great variety of talents, but I think Color Resistance is mostly beneficial on a lot of fights and a lot of teams, while the Celestial Attunement is really only very, very strong if you can prevent something from happening when they have like a good follow-up on something else. Like, for example, if they had a follow-up on the Murden Sun, like a Tyrande, for example, or like, let's say they have a Kerrigan, I think then it's good to have Celestial Attunement, because you basically cleanse the first stun before the second stun can come out, or you double heal them and then try to break the combo at some point that they can move. But it's not as strong as a cleanse because it doesn't give the unstoppable frame, and therefore you still have to run awkward positions. And then again, Moonlit Arrows, I think, is pretty good, but it definitely requires you to be very good at auto-attacking. Like, your status stepping has to be on point. This game was actually a solo Team League game, so I queued for Team League, and I got matched up with a 4-man team here on my side, and then the enemy team was a 5-man team on this game. So if you didn't know, Team League now is solo queuable. So basically, if you enjoy Team League more, or you just want to get the rewards for finishing your placements in Team League, which is a mount, you can do that now without having a team. This is very common, sending the Sentinel out when the gates open, just to see where the enemy is going. We also saw basically 5 man there, so we knew exactly what they were doing. meaning we can expect a little brawl. Also means our Irel is going top alone, so she won't be contested for the first couple of minions, which is pretty good. So you can see on the bottom, I just had used my Light of Loon, my first stack, and then I kept my second step up a little bit and then used it again. This also means, by the way, that you have the ability to heal 3 times very quickly. The cooldown of Light of Loon starts as soon as you use the first stack. So in this case, that means that, for example, you have one target that you want to heal, so you heal them, but they are healed for basically full, and then you just let the second cooldown run, and for 15 seconds or for 14 seconds basically you have that second stack up. And then if you reduce the cooldown, for example, by auto-attacking whatever, and you use the second stack of Light of Loon, and then you finish the cooldown while you use the second stack, it can happen that you basically get 2 stacks back, and then therefore you would have 3 heals in a row. It's very difficult to like really benefit from this, I think, because you don't want to have necessarily one Light of Loon stack running all the time. I missed the stun here, which is really bad, by the way. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more while we go through this game. So yeah, like, don't bank on having 3 Light of Loon stacks up, or try to like always time it for 3 stacks of Light of Loon, because it's just not worth it to micromanage this that much. So now I reach level 4, and that makes the game a lot easier for me because I get Lunar Blaze. Lunar Blaze passive is that it increases the range of Lunar Flare by 40%, which means it's a huge range increase. I can like really shoot it for a very long area now. And here you can see I use Hunter's Mark on the mage minion, and you can see how pitiful the damage against minions is. So she is also not a support hero that really has great wave clear, so don't put her on the solo lane or whatever here. I just wanted to soak some XP because we had Irel rotating between the 2 lanes first. But then we didn't want to do anything to miss more XP. This one was good. Here's a Lunar Flare follow-up. That's how you should play Lunar Flare most of the time, by just following up on somebody else, because Lunar Flare can be difficult to hit if you're only using it on yourself. Here you go. That was very easy hit because I knew where they were going. But if you want to use it as a setup, it's difficult to hit it, in my opinion. So the Lunar Blaze Silent gives you a little bit easier time because you don't have to be as close to your target, but it also allows you to, again, do this where you basically, you're not into range of anybody, but you can still hit a stun. So that's really good. This is a mistake by my team. So I marked the Muradin and also stunned him, but my team looked for an easier target, or a more low health target than Muradin. The thing though is that with Hunter's Mark, I can actually basically make everybody vulnerable. So if you have a Tyrande on your team and you see the Hunter Mark going out, and it's not very obvious, to be honest, like it's a very small mark in my opinion, but she can set up a kill on basically everybody, because 15% more damage is a lot. Like, don't underestimate the mark ever. Like, even if you're just like one-on-one Tyrande, it makes a significant difference, and it's 50% from all sources, meaning that it does more magic damage, it does more auto-attack damage and everything. So we have a Chromie that has a lot of burst potential if we lock down a target. And if you look at our team, we have Taunt, we have Kerrigan who can combo, and then we have Lunar Flare from me. So we can definitely do a lot of damage to one target if we pull off the combo correctly. On level 7 you have a couple of cool talents that allow you to do some more healing. I like Elun's Chosen, which is basically a buff on an enemy, on an ally target. And when I use it on an ally target, every auto attack I do heals that target. So you can see I have it on Kerrigan right now, and my auto attacks on the Muradin are basically healing the Kerrigan. It is really good because it again is also for you to do what you should be doing, right? Like, it doesn't require you to do anything special. For example, Mark of Mending I think is not very good because the Hunter's Mark target sometimes doesn't get really focused. And as you can see here, let's pause it. I want to talk about two different things. So the Hunter's Mark target healing the attackers is really good, but sometimes, for example, in this case, Kerrigan was doing something else, and I wouldn't have put the target on here, or it was on cooldown, so she wouldn't have gotten the heal up. The Everlasting Light is really good because you can heal two different targets, and the second target gets a higher heal from your Light of Elune. So you can, if you can split your attention, that's really good. It's a little bit worse with Caldere's Resistance because you want to sometimes stack the spell armor on one target, right? So then in this case, you wouldn't benefit from your level 7 talent. Elune's Chosen again is good because it empowers you to play how you should be playing a Tyrande, which is doing a lot of auto attacks. So you can put this on a target and then you auto attack to reduce your Light of Elune cooldown, and therefore you just play better in what you do if you do it correctly. Obviously, if you suck at auto attacking, then it's a little bit of an issue. Okay, let's go back here and talk about this fight for a second. And so I'm not in vision at the moment, but I'm also, if you look at it, I'm pretty far away from Whiteman and Tassadar here, right? So me being able to auto-attack the Myrddin gives me a lot of cooldown reduction. So it's first cooldown reduction, second cooldown reduction. And now look here, they get taunted, and I'm still trying to help my Chromie here. So this is what my priority red is. My priority is I want to stop the Myrddin from killing my Chromie. But I see that these guys are attacking here. So with Lunar Blaze, look how far away I am. And I still get the stun off. Like, this is the power of Lunar Blaze and the Tyrande. Like, from level 4 on, you can be ridiculously far away and still help your team set up these kills. And again, in this case, I follow up on something. Like, they're putting pressure on somebody, and then I follow up. That makes it a lot easier. Again, here, perfectly done by my team. The Tesla just had his E up, so, you know, unfortunate for us, but doesn't mean that it wasn't a good try. I put the Hunter's Mark on him, and then you can see how much difference that makes. The 15%, we only took, only gave him a little bit of damage from an auto attack, but the 15% damage increase made a big difference here. And this is why we're getting so many kills here, by the way, as well. We are basically a setup machine, and this is something that is a little bit old school Heroes of the Storm. It doesn't, it's not played as much anymore, but like I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, you would see a lot of Myrddin Tyrande, because you would have Myrddin just like stoneball somebody, and then you would follow up with the Tyrande stun. And in pro play, that normally meant that whoever was fighting you was basically dead. On level 10 you have two choices. Shadowstalk was also reverted back to what it did before. It stealths all allied heroes and then also puts a heal on them for 10 seconds. So you can use this globally basically as a heal. And the stealth is kind of nice because you can use it to have people drop their target. It's not perfect. Like, some spells will stop targeting, some others won't. It's a little bit awkward, so you shouldn't count on this to counter a Pyroblast, for example. Okay, let's look at this again, because this is obviously the other four guys were probably in voice, but I wasn't. But look at how well we're coordinating, and we're not talking in voice here. Like, I didn't join voice; they weren't on in-game voice. Let's have a look. The Myrddin is actually a very tanky target, but my team has seen that I put the Hunter's Mark on him quite often, and then he gets a very good target for us because, again, he takes a lot of damage, especially if he doesn't get this jump off and therefore doesn't have bonus armor. So here comes the taunt from Varian. Chromie starts her full rotation. Kerrigan puts the stun down, and I'm also using Lunar Blaze immediately. And you can see the 15% minus armor. He's lucky a little bit because he gets his jump off in between the CCs, so he has 10 more armor, which could have saved him if Chromie didn't have already like a very stacked Sandblast. But you can see that even that high health target, like he had nearly full health, they pop with the debuff. Here's where Tyrande now struggles a little bit. If you have blinds against her, her cooldown reduction is not as high, and therefore you start struggling. Here I'm making a mistake. Like, let's have a look at again what I'm not doing. So I'm blinded, and now I just give up on the carry again because I can't fight here anymore. As soon as she's so low, I use my owl. Now I'm blinded. I don't get my cooldown reduction. I have 2 seconds, and I just give up on her, which is completely fine because I'm also below like 800 health, so I don't want to die here. I know that the variant will get out if I heal him twice. And this here now, I should be auto-attacking. Like the Tesseract, even with the Psystorm, he can't kill me. I should be auto-attacking here. I use the Lunar Flare, which is okay against the Tesseract. Actually kills him there with the variant. But again, here, auto-attack, auto-attack, auto-attack. And now I'm just auto-attacking. Like, I missed like 2 or 3 auto-attacks, which means I probably would have had heals now again. So that's something that you have to be really good with on Tyrande to get good healing numbers. Like, you have to find targets that you can auto-attack. And that can be anything. Like, you can auto-attack minions, you can auto-attack, you know, enemy buildings, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But you need to focus on that because otherwise you will have a very long cooldown of 15 seconds on your heal. And your output will not be just high enough. So now we're just back in basically a pretty balanced situation. They're half a level behind. And again, look at this. The Muradin has like, I mean, we can just have a look at him. He has like 2,400 HP. That's not correct. Where is he? Everybody has 2,400 HP. That can't be correct. So he has 4,200 HP overall, and he has like dropped down to 2,000 approximately now. So he thinks that he can punish the IRL because she's now also very low, and he just slowed her, and he gets like auto attacks off of her and then skull cracks her and whatever. So now we're rotating up here. I heal the IRL. He jumps away now, and he actually walks in a very confusing way for me because everybody I know would have just immediately walked towards their gate, which is why I'm standing here, because I'm expecting him to not walk up first. I expect him to walk right immediately. So I missed my stun. But again, we put the 15% armor on him minus, and then it just blows up no matter what he does. Like, there's very little that he can do. So this is something that you really need to focus on as a Tyrande, but also if you have a Tyrande on your team. She can give you a target, and now I'm doing something very embarrassing, by the way. So I put the target on the middle pumpkin, and then I attacked the top pumpkin like 3 times or something, so that wasn't very smart. But yeah, I want to reiterate, like, it's very important that you use the Hunter's Mark very aggressively. Like, it's from level 1 on. Like, some people get armor reduced at like 16 or something, or maybe 13. You have this from level 1 on. That means you can really do a lot of damage to people. And then I'm a little late here, so Tyrael gets away. So in 13, I took Ranger's Mark. It basically also means that the cooldown of Hunter's Mark is reduced by 1 second every time I attack anything. And then it also means that I can keep the Hunter's Mark on somebody. And I'm very much willing to do this on Muradin, for example, because we have, again, done a lot of damage to him all the time. So the other tools are also very good. I think Quickening Blessing can be very powerful because you can let people escape, but it also helps you chase very easily with the movement speed increase. And then Harsh Moonlight, I personally think it's not a very great talent because the Sentinel slow is good and the damage reduce is good, but I just feel like Sentinel without piercing and without the huge damage, it's kind of weird, and it's also awkward to hit something if you're, for example, under pressure. So I like the other 2 talents better at the moment, but I think all of them are very viable. So here again, I feel like we can easily attack the Muradin, but we have the problem that we're actually getting attacked up there. So my team just kills the Tesseract, no, sorry, the Artanis, and I'm a little bit like not focused enough. Like, I thought my decision of attacking the Miriam was correct and we could have killed him, but I completely misjudged the situation where he was and what's happening to him. You saw the jump and then it removed the armor there. That's something that is confusing because it just overrides the debuff, but it doesn't really like remove the negative armor. Like it just shows you he gained plus 10 armor. He still has like 5 armor minus. So don't be confused by that. You can't clear the debuff like this. And here you also see why the Ranger's Mark is a good talent, because I just use it on the Myrden, and then this is so stupid, by the way. Let me finish my previous thought. So with the cooldown reduction on Hunter's Mark, we were able to kill somebody here and then do the boss, and I have Hunter's Mark up again, and then on the boss I use it, and then Hunter's Mark is up again. So if you look at the whole game, we have 10 kills against 2 kills, and the Myrden has been killed 3 times, and he has to know by now that we have a lot of CC going on. So him jumping in here, and I want to see if he like maybe misjudged how many people were here. Where is he? There he is. Let's jump back a little bit. So this is his vision, right? So we get boss. He sees 2 people. He sees 3 people. Okay, so he sees the Chromie and he thinks, yep, I can get the Chromie. And suddenly there's 4 people here. There's no damage dealer here. Like, there's Tassada and Whitemane, and there's Artanis over here who has lost his cloak or something. I don't know what's happening here. And then Vala is doing the, in my opinion, correct thing. She's getting back the keep down here. So him going on here, even if he hits the Chromie, is really, really bad. And I mean, you've seen the game until now already, so you can see what's going to happen to him. Stun. He has reduced armor. He doesn't have an escape anymore, and then he just dies. And with the Hunter's Mark, with the Ranger's Mark talent, I also keep the debuff up for longer, meaning that it's not just the initial like 3 seconds or 4 seconds. It can be like 6 or 7 seconds that you have reduced armor. And that's really rough on the Myrden, because he has quite a bit of health with Avatar and everything, but still, you're just taking a lot of damage from all these sources, and especially Chromie, when you have a target lockdown, can do so much damage still. Like, I know that a lot of people think she's very bad after her rework, but she still does a lot of damage. This is the cool thing about Shadowstalk, by the way. So I'm here, my team is far away, and me being here is actually, I think, a pretty good situation, because I'm very safe here. They won't contest this, so my team being clumped up here is pretty good. Also, we have all the damage here, and we have Irel who can take some damage, as well as the Varian, so the heal doesn't need to be there to get this altar phase done. But with the Shadow Melt, or not Shadow Melt, what is it called? Shadowstalk, sorry. I always confuse it with the Night Elf trait from WoW. I can heal here without being in range, so that's just really good. This is, by the way, something that Tyrande is not very good at. Like, a lot of targets are now very low in health, and I used all of my cooldowns and didn't really get to auto-attack things. So now a couple of my targets are very low. And this is where you can punish Tyrande pretty heavily, I think. If you spread damage quite a bit, like if you have a Kel'Thas or whatever, or like a Gul'dan who spreads damage, or maybe a Lunara, you struggle with Tyrande to catch up on healing these targets if you don't get a couple of good auto attacks off. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. She's not a great sustaining healer if she doesn't have anything to hit. Like, if you bully her and she can't attack because she has to run, or if she's just like out of range, it's difficult after her first initial heals to do anything else, unless she can continuously attack something. So now we've reached 16, and the Nessian archery is what most people go for. It's basically an auto attack damage increase. Whenever you hit an enemy hero, you get 10% more damage increase, and then it lasts for 6 seconds, and that was a Whitemane. This is really good because it does more damage. Like, you just do more damage, you are getting a little bit more dangerous to people. I used the Shadow Stalk a little early here because I'm worried that we're fighting around this, and I've lost the Kerrigan a couple of times where she tanks some shots or some minions or something. So just use it early because, again, it's healing over 10 seconds, which means that it gives me a little bit of a buffer to get my Light of Elune stacks refreshed, maybe once or twice, depending on how much I can hit. That being said, the enemy team is without their healer, so it's a little bit difficult for them to do anything against us. And then also they're obviously down a talent tier and a couple of levels, so not surprising to see that they're suffering so much right now. On 16 rounds, it's Empower. Again, I'm not a big fan of the Sentinel talents at the moment, but it basically reduces its cooldown and it deals percentage damage. Can be very good here against the Muradin, but I never felt like we weren't able to kill the target with the composition that we had, so that's that. And then Hunter's Mark with Hunter's Fury, basically the range and the duration is increased. That can be very, very good. And then also the basic attacks against a target with Hunter's Mark will splash. So if I put it on Muradin, for example, and he sends a minion wave, we'll basically splash the minion wave for quite significant amount of damage as well. So, again, this is a really good counter. Like, honestly, like, Blinds is really strong against Tyrande, so that's something that you just keep in mind. But we're so far ahead now, and we have been playing very well together that it's very difficult for the enemy team to focus on this. Shadowstalk is up again. I'm using it immediately. We have another target with reduced armor now, and more reduced armor everywhere. And we just kill everybody and end the game with the 2 pumpkins that are going through here. So this was a very one-sided, lopsided game, but I wanted to show you why Tyrande was so popular a couple of years ago, and how I think also that you should draft her. Or not should draft her, I think you can always draft her, but what you can draft with her to make her even better, because at the moment she's basically, I think, picked because of her healing numbers. That might still be a little bit overtuned, I'm not quite sure, but she definitely puts out a lot of heal if she can auto-attack something. But pairing her up with other heroes that can CC can just create such a big momentum swing in team fights, where even if it's a tank, even if it's like a Garrosh and he taunted somebody from your team, you just put the Hunter's Mark on him and stun him, and then suddenly he just lost like 37 or 30 to 40% of his life. Is down to 60% life, and they start to panic. And if you have Chromie, or if you have Kel'Thas, or if you have like Gul'dan, anything that really benefits from one target being stuck to one position, Tyrande can enable this with just another hero. Like, I mean, in this case, we really had like Taunt from Marion, we had the Blades from Kerrigan, we also had Arel who could like reposition the enemy, and then we also had Temporal Loop. So there was a lot of stuff going on there to control enemy heroes. And obviously no cleanse on the other side, and no, like, none of the heroes has anything except Tassadar, right? Like, they also didn't draft very smart around our composition, but I think a lot of people forgot about the stun method that we had, like the Diablo Tyrande, the Murder Tyrande, and now we have more heroes that have like very short CCs, but if you put them together, they can be very powerful. So if you see a Tyrande being picked on your teams, see if you can get some easy applied stuns, and then, or like taunts, and then she will, do better. She will perform better than if she's alone and has to hit things on her own. But that's it for me, I think. Again, this was a very dominant game, so this shouldn't mean like, oh, I'm the best Tyrande player in the world. Not at all. My team was very good at communicating, but I thought it was really nice to see those combinations hitting, with the people not being coordinated that much. Like, obviously, at the beginning of the game, you saw that I just threw out my my Hunter's Marks and my my Lunar Flares just wherever I wanted to, like, kind of like. And then when the game went on further, I had more synergy with my team. So that's something that you can also do in your Hero League games, in your Team League games, if you play solo, just line them up with somebody else, and then you will have more success with your things. Here are the talents. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. So these are all, I think, pretty good talent builds. And again, the enemy team just had a rough time. I don't know also if the MMR range was pretty big because they were a 5-stack, and we had a 4+1. So I don't know how much MMR penalty they're getting against us. So take this with a grain of salt. That being said, their choice of healer was, I think, okay, but you can't go fanatical power against us. Like, you need to go Inquisition or whatever it's called on level 7, the cleanse that Wildman has, because you need to save your people. Like, when I make the decision to not go for Celestial Attunement, that's because I know it's only Murden and maybe Reign of Vengeance following up. But like in our case, it's like Taunt, Kerrigan's done, Tyrande's done. You can't cleanse the. I don't think it gives you Unstoppable from White Man for the temporal loop. But there's so many things that you need to cleanse here in this team. Like 3 heroes have something that you can cleanse. I think that's very irresponsible to not take that. So that's the only thing that I would say you should have a look. And then again, also Kerrigan reworked, so you see that she didn't do super well, I think. Yeah, like, I mean, the Chromie carried us here throughout the game. I think the talent build is pretty much what everybody is playing. That being said, Chrysalis is actually not having a very good win rate. You maybe want to think about something else there. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of Tyrande play. And if you have any cool comments or thoughts about the new Tyrande, let me know. And we're going to have a nice discussion. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good Sunday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.